Good Wednesday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good afternoon. Browns were back on the practice field out in Berea, and all of them were back out, at least for a portion of the practice. Jedric Wills returned to individual drills today for the first time, really since his injury back last year in November. Wills, an update on plans for his continued progress, as well as the possibility he would be starting against the Cowboys Sunday.
I'm not starting this week. I'm just going out there for Indy to see how it feels and get back into things.
They talk about middle reps. You know, with the new offense and everything, you know, this will be your first reps on the field and that. How much do you feel like you benefited from what, you know, from just seeing, you know, being in the meeting room, watching it out there on the field?
Yeah, whenever you can't practice, make mental reps for everything. So it was a little transition. Like, it was new, you know, not being able to go through camp and practice and stuff like that. But I don't feel like I've been left behind or anything. I feel perfectly fine.
There were times where you played through high ankle sprains, and you tried, and it turned out to make it worse.
Yeah.
There's some people who think, criticize you for not being in there practicing. Do you hear that? Do you care?
I don't care at all. I'm not be honest. I don't really care
Or
at all.
they question whether you want to play and all that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's gonna have their own opinion. It's just a thing that you hear with if it was easy, everybody would do it. I mean, I'm sure everybody's heard that before.
Just rolls off your back.
It's what it is. I mean, if it was tough, if it was easy, everybody would do it, but it's tough, so that's just why I'm doing it. You feel me?
Let's welcome in Casey Kinnamon from the Orange and Brown Report, All Eyes on Cleveland podcast, and the Barking Browns podcast. Casey, not ideal. We found out knee injury was a little bit more serious than we initially thought with Wills as well. So it's looking like your choices are Jack Conklin or James Hudson at left tackle. I know where I'm going.
Yeah, it's not ideal, and I feel like the Browns are making chicken salad at this point. I think there was a misprognosis of when he was going to return, and maybe that's from the surgeon or the trainers or a combination of the two, because I think if you know this far, and if you knew this in advance, and then DeJuan's getting all these reps the entire preseason, because James Hudson, while not, you know, he's at least a passable right tackle, not a left tackle. So now I feel like they're kind of acting in desperation. But as far as desperation moves go, Jack Conklin's the best case scenario in my opinion. But I also feel this isn't being fair to Jack. You know, we're talking about a guy who's, you know, battled back from 2 career-altering injuries since the last time he was named an All-Pro, you know. And the last time he took reps at left tackle, Barack Obama was your president. Like, it's been a while, and now you're sending him out there against Micah Parsons. But that being said, how much better would you feel with Jed right now? I don't think it alters your game plan. I think your game plan's still a lot of David Njoku on that side, sending Deonta Foreman and Ford his way. The plan's still the same. You're still going to have to mitigate one of the very best pass rushers in the league. I kind of feel bad for Jack, but if Jack's able to hold his own 70% of the time and doesn't give up more than 1 sack, I think you got to consider that a moral victory.
Well, you know, I would say Jack Conklin is a third option. I don't think many teams have that luxury. So now you know why they weren't in a hurry to trade one of those guys for this type of scenario. We expect to see a new offense. What the new offense looks like, we'll find out. Deshaun Watson talked about the new offense and if there was an advantage to the Browns, because there isn't any of this offense on tape right now.
Some people can say it is, some people can say it's not. For us, we got to go execute, regardless if it's new or if it's old. You know, I think week 1 is, you know, every team has a lot of ideas, a lot of different things that they want to put in, but at the same time, you don't know what the defense is going to do. Also, you know, especially with Dallas, so it's kind of a unique deal where they have a new defensive coordinator, we have a new offensive coordinator, so 2 new systems going head-to-head. We just kind of got to figure it out and adjust as we go. Everyone's super confident. I think Kevin and Ken did a heck of a job this camp of, you know, making sure we dial in everything that we're, you know, super good at, everything that we're, you know, very efficient at, and the right place to, you know, make those plays. So everyone's super confident in what they're the game plan is going in this week. Today is day 2-1 of that game plan. So, we're just putting it all in and just making sure, we win the week before we get out there Sunday.
And Casey, it's kind of interesting because Mike Zimmer's the new defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Kevin Stefanski's aware of Mike Zimmer. He coached under him. Again, you would rather have an offense that nobody really knows what you're doing. At least I would. Defense is pretty simple. We're find ball, get ball to ground.
Yeah, I think that's the least talked about headline of this matchup, the familiarity between Zimmer and Stefanski. And it goes both ways. And they've both evolved since the last time they coached with each other. And if you think about it, Zimmer's been out of the league since 21. In 22 and 23, he was a defensive analyst for Deion Sanders, first at Jackson State in Colorado. But since Zimmer's been gone out of the NFL, the too high shell thing wasn't even really prevalent when he was there. So there's going to be a lot of filling out, but you kind of know who you are fundamentally. And after you start to see certain looks 2 or 3 times, you get a feel for what you're going to do. And I think another big aspect of this is teams don't play in the preseason anymore. You're not, because it used to be like you'd show a little bit of vanilla stuff, but when your starters don't play, you're showing 0. So there's going to be a definite filling out process that you see in boxing in the first round where these guys are just filling each other out. I think that's going to be the first half of this game is these two just getting a feel for each other. But if you're one of the two wants to have an element of surprise, you would rather it be the offense.
Yeah, and I think it was something like 4 or 5% of the snaps in preseason the Browns starters played. That's how little. This is kind of interesting. So Dan Murphy of the Browns tweets this out. This is how good of a season Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah had a year ago. NFL players to record at least 90 tackles and 20 TFLs, that's tackles for loss, in a season since 2000. So that's 24 years. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah last year. Luke Kuechly, probably going into the Hall of Fame, 2018. Lavonte David of Tampa Bay, twice, 2013 and 2012. That's a very short list that JOK is on, and he did it basically in half a season, because if you remember, he struggled a little bit, and they were taking him off the field early in the year last year.
Yeah, when you look at those numbers, I don't think you bat an eye at 90 tackles for an off-ball linebacker. That's kind of common. You'll see a handful of guys exceed that. But that 20 tackles for loss is so rare from that position. If you just look at the players you named there, 2013 Lavonte David, first-team All-Pro. 2018 Luke Kuechly, first-team All-Pro. And I think that you touched on it. He was able to do that with literally for the first 7 games really not being a full-time player on the field, having to come off the field. And that's the next step in his evolution, is being that guy who takes 95% of the snaps. So if he does that, I think you look at those numbers and you're going to see 110, 120 tackles, maybe 25 tackles for loss. And if you stack that on what he did last year, I think, this year you'll start to see him get that notoriety, the first team All-Pros, those type of things, which also makes me glad that the Browns were able to sign him now, because I think that price tag would be pretty hefty after the season.
Yeah, the other thing that I think you're going to end up seeing, people will say, all right, we gotta make sure 95, Myles Garrett doesn't wreck the game. You're getting to the point where if you get in your 10, 15 TFLs and you're 5, 6 games into the season, they're going to start saying, all right, 6 can't wreck the game either.
Yeah, he's going to be one of those guys they circle on the whiteboard, along with number 9, Grant Delpit. He's the guy who had 7 tackles for loss as a safety. That's also not a common number. So they're starting to have these players that you're going to have to pay more attention to other than just 95, which that's what you need to do. You need as many math changers as possible, and JOK definitely fits that description.
All right, this is from the Bleacher Report, 6 teams that can't afford a slow start to the 2024 season. Number 1, they say the Dolphins. Number 2 are Cleveland Browns, ahead of the Colts, Eagles, Falcons, and Rams. Rationale, an 0-2 start, followed by even so-so run through the Giants, Raiders, Commanders, and Eagles, could leave Kevin Stefanski's squad too deep in trouble for outings with Bengals and Ravens later in the year. Again, we all do the schedule game. Let's see what the teams look like later in the tell me, is Jamar Chase going to be practicing later in the year? Because apparently he don't want to practice and he wants a new contract before he sets foot on the field. But Yeah, the Browns have to get off to a good start. We've said that all along.
Yeah. No team can afford a slow start. Any team with championship aspirations, unless you're the Chiefs, I'd put them probably in a bucket by themselves. But if you're any other team, yes, it's imperative that you get off to a fast start. But if you look at the Browns' schedule, I think it's highly more likely they start off 2-0 than 0-2. But even if they were to go 0-2, you look at what's right on the other side of that second game. Very winnable games. So to me, it's being dramatic. Obviously, if you have championship aspirations, getting off to a fast start is imperative. But I think that the schedule kind of works out in a way where the Browns can kind of feel who they are, form their identity by the time you get to that 3-game homestand right before the bye. And if I look at it, I'm looking at what do you want to be by the time you get to that Week 10 bye. I think you're 6-3 or 7-2. I think that's being very realistic. And then the schedule does get immensely harder on the other side. But I don't think 0-2 is very likely at all.
Well, the other thing is the Cowboys at home, whole lot better than the Cowboys on the road for the Browns. Keep in mind that 7-1 at home last year and have been really good at now Huntington Bank Field, Cleveland Browns Stadium, under Kevin Stefanski.
It'll take a while.
Yeah, under Kevin Stefanski. They have turned that into a home field advantage.
Yeah, and I think it really starts with what the defense has been able to do at home, especially last season. So to be able to start the season at home with this defense, now I do think the Cowboys have a very formidable passing offense. I don't know what they're going to be able to do in the run game, but if you look at that passing offense, it's formidable. But to get them at home, that's a huge bonus. And I think that you're going to be able to kind of choke them out just based on the way this defense plays. And I for that reason alone, I would think that they get off to a fast start.
Casey Kinnamon from the Orange and Brown Report and the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. And I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out. We'll hear more from Deshaun Watson, Sports4CLE. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Cash, moolah, greenbacks, dough, Skrilla, chips, bread, and mo. 2, 5, 10, and 20. 30 big ones, games aplenty. Cheddar, butter, loot, and scratch. Find the letters, make a match, cause there's many words for cash, no doubt, and many ways to play cash word. Check 'em out. Cash word from Ohio, lottery. It's game time, yo. Cash word, it's fun to go with millions and prizes, don't you know?
We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from the Orange and Brown Report, as well as the Barking Browns podcast. Deshaun Watson hadn't been able to string games together. Has been on the field, off the field. So last year, made 6 starts for the Browns before he got injured, knocked out for the rest of the season. Today, Watson talked about what he can take away from those 6 starts.
Honestly, man, I don't even look at those 6 starts. It's a new year. It's a new season, regardless if you won MVP or if you didn't play last year. It's a new year. Every year is different in the NFL. So you can't go out there focusing on what happened last year, week 2, week 4. You got to focus on week 1. And in this system, in this league, if you're focusing on last year, then you're going to get left behind. So, our main focus, especially mine, is focusing on Dallas and what I can do on Sunday to help this team win.
And again, Casey, he's just got to be on the field. I think he's healthy, he's playing, the rest kind of takes care of itself.
I got to say, Dave, I absolutely love that answer. I just also hope that it's not some practice talking point. It's something he's truly embracing, because it's 100% true, more so for quarterbacks than any other position, And it's not even just like I can't rest on my laurels of what I did last year. It's I can't rest on what I did the last game, but it's even more than that. It is throw to throw, complete laser focus. The next play is the most important play of the game, and that's the way you have to live. Because if you get in a drive and you complete 6 straight passes, if that 7th pass is an interception, none of that other stuff mattered. So it's literally play to play. So I really hope that he's embracing that, and that's the mantra for the season, is just laser focus, put your blinders on, don't worry about anything on the outside, and just focus on the next play. Because for a quarterback, that's life in the NFL.
All right, this from Dog Pound Daily. 3 big storylines for Browns-Cowboys in Week 1 on Sunday. Number 1, Deshaun Watson and the new offense. I am really curious to see how that looks. And again, we've been told they're not going to be able to put everything in that they want to put in. I do want to see more shotgun and playing to Deshaun Watson's strengths. Number 2, offensive line injuries and the run game. This one, I'm not going to lie, that has me concerned. And number 3, can the defense be as dominant this year? I mean, that defense was historic for part of last year. So you're asking a lot. I think the talent is even better just based on who they've added. When you look at those, all of those are legit. I'm concerned about the O-line and the run game.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question mark, in my opinion, is, well, the continuity from year to year has been pretty good with the offensive line, and that has to do with the personnel and having Bill Callahan. Well, kind of got a little bit of a shakeup now with the personnel, with the left tackle concerns, and you don't have Bill Callahan. How much more confident would you be in this offensive line if you had Bill Callahan? You know, this is just a new offensive coordinator, a new offensive line coach, and it's going to take a while to fill out. But you understand one thing is you can't live with the running game the way that it ended last year. There has to be an improvement there. We heard Wyatt Teller talk earlier in the week about the importance of staying up with the chains, staying out of predictable passing situations. Well, how do you do that? Jerome Ford's got to get you 4 yards on first down. You can't be living in 2nd and 9, 3rd and 8. That is a tough way to live in the NFL. So this running game has to be consistent. What we saw out of Jerome Ford last year was a big play followed by a bunch of kind of nothing burgers, 0, 1 yard, and you can't live in that area. We saw that with Isaiah Crowell in years past. You have to be consistent. So those 3.5, 4 yard gains, taking what's there, you got to be able to at least get that. Now, we've been spoiled because we've had Nick Chubb, so he would take what's there and then some extra. I just need you to get what's there. And I think Deonta Foreman can definitely do that just by simply falling forward at the end of your runs. But that consistency in that running game keeps you on the field and keeps you moving the chains. I'll say to the defense.
Go ahead. No, you go. Go ahead.
I was going to say to the defense, I expect them to be more dominant. I flat out do. Now the yardage thing's weird. Will they have historic lows in yardage, and something the NFL hasn't seen in 10 years? Probably not. But I expect them to be much more stingy in the red zone. And the last time I checked, that's how you decide who wins and loses games, is the points. So I expect them to be more dominant in that facet. And then it doesn't matter how the offense gets there, whether they get a quick change and get an interception and kind of just find yourself there. You still got to put the lid on the thing and hold teams to 3. And I need that to be the emphasis. And I need you to be able to travel with that defense, which is something they really didn't do last year. So those 2 aspects, red zone defense and taking it on the road, those 2 things, to me, lead it to be a more dominant defense than it was last year.
With Watson in the offense, can't turn the ball over like he did last year. And a lot of that was, he didn't turn it over as much as the other guys who played quarterback. Turnovers will kill a really good defense. I want to see some easy yards. I want to see it spread out. I don't want to see defenses able to put 8, 9 in the box. Spread it out and let Watson find the matchups that you guys like and have game planned.
Your mouth to God's ears. It's about finding easy answers for Watson, getting the ball out of his hands and getting him in a rhythm. And you have the players to do it because you have several receivers that create separation and someone like Judy who can create it early, right off the snap. So it's about finding instances where you can get the ball in their hands and let them work, let them do the heavy lifting. Obviously, David Njoku is a focal point for that. He's a guy that you can just literally dump it off to, and he puts people in making business decisions. People aren't excited to come up and tackle him unless you weigh over 225 pounds. So you got to create that and get that game flow going. So the ball's just coming out of his hands. Let him be a point guard. Let him just be the facilitator and let those guys do the heavy lifting. And if you do that, you get in a rhythm. And after you get in a rhythm, those chunk plays seem to come. So for me, that's what it's about. It's just let him spread it out, let him stay in shotgun, let him see the field the way he's used to seeing it, and just getting the ball out of his hands, and let these playmakers make plays.
All right, Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys head coach, talked about facing Amari Cooper, who was a Cowboy a few years back, and also what to expect from this Browns offense.
With Amari, number one, just that all the individuals that have worked, with Amari and against Amari, I think just the biggest thing is his route running ability is top notch. His ability, for releases and tracking the ball. So yeah, that's definitely things we've discussed long before last week when we put the plan in. So, and I think clearly too the players that have been here too, Jay Lou and obviously Al and the group working against them. So so we feel like we have a good idea. We all definitely know what he's capable of doing, that's for sure, and that's part of the game plan process. And the mobile quarterback, yeah, that's been a little bit of a challenge, trying to fit their offense last year to how they're going to play. But but also, maybe he goes to 65% on scout looks. I mean, who knows? But you got to pay real close attention to how they run the ball. They're number 1 in the league in time of possession. So I think we were 3. So I mean, you're talking about 2 teams that have the ability to take care of the football, hold the ball, and so yeah, we've looked at all those things. But yeah, it's mobile quarterback, Amari, in a tremendous run game. I mean, this is a really big challenge for our defense.
And again, it's any time anybody mentions Amari Cooper, it's route running.
Yeah, it's one of the best in the business. He's got teach tape. If you know a young receiver and they're looking to hone their craft, I would definitely point to Amari Cooper as the standard, a guy who's just a salesman, and he puts defensive backs in the blender because everything looks the same until it isn't, and you guess wrong once, and there he is, just wide open streaking. So, and McCarthy knows there was crossover there when he got there. He got to see what Cooper was capable of, and I think it really aided the other receivers on that team because so much attention has to be paid to Cooper. And a lot of it stems around his professionalism, the way he goes about his job, and I'm sure that helped everybody in their room just grow as players. So they understand the assignment. I do think it's curious. He talks about the Browns leading in time of possession and 2 teams know how to, take care of the ball. Yet the Browns were dead last in turnovers as well last year and time of possession. It makes me wonder if there's ever been an NFL team to lead in those 2 specific categories.
Yeah, it was. It's not an easy way to go. We'll say that. Casey Kinnamon and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Want to remind you, we want your voicemails, 216-200-6650. What do you think of the Browns season? Concerns you have? And also, what do you think about the Cowboys-Browns game coming up? We'll use those Friday. Again, that's the voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650. We'll be right back with more Browns Sports4CLE.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from the Orange and Brown Report, the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast, and the Barking Browns podcast. Tom Brady, that NFL quarterback recognized by many as the greatest ever. He will make his debut as an analyst on the Browns-Cowboys game. He talks about some of the matchups and some of the things he's looking at. This from The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
The interesting part about the NFL is nobody really knows what they're going to be this season. You have hopes, you bring in draft picks, free agents, and you try to put together your team to say, all right, this is the way that we want to play based on where our deficiencies were last year. Certainly, Cleveland's defense was top of the league last year. They want to continue that. They want to get Deshaun back. They brought in a whole offensive staff to try to get him to play the way that he played when he was in Houston.
Yeah.
And they want to go out there and compete, not just for a division title, but for more than that. And it's a great kind of test for them to go against Dallas, who, they want to get over the hump as well. And they've got a lot of great players. They've got a lot of great talent. They got to get to, I think Coach McCarthy, they have a great leader in Coach McCarthy that really preaches, hey, we want to stay focused day after day. We want to eliminate the distractions. And they've had quite a few of that this offseason, but every team does. And I feel like Dallas has handled it very well, and it's a great opening game.
Casey, it's kind of interesting. You listen to Tom Brady, and even he is like, yeah, they brought in the staff to change the offense. It's an offense he played in with Bill O'Brien with Patriots. So he'll be able to give some insight into what we're seeing that will go well beyond what you usually get even with an NFL analyst.
And I'm hoping that's what we get from Tom Brady calling these games. Like, this is a perfect storm. Like, if you look at, I'd love to see what these numbers are going to be. Obviously, the Browns always do well when we get on the big stage as far as like ratings and stuff. But the Cowboys, love them or hate them, they draw. And then you have Brady. Like, I want to see what kind of insight he does bring. I want to see, like, do we get a flippant version of him, or do we get a robotic version where he's just trying to say what he thinks people want to hear? Because I think he could give really good insight into what's going on. And Watson spoke on it earlier about having a relationship with Tom because of Bill O'Brien, and kind of getting to work with him a little bit and pick his brain. So it'll be interesting to see. And I think that Tom had a very good pulse on the situation there. If you just look at what the Browns are really trying to do, and the fact that they're not just in it for the division, they have higher aspirations than that, and even the Cowboys angle. So it'll be interesting to see. I want to see, and normally full disclosure, I usually mute the national broadcast and pipe in Jimmy D, so I'm going to listen to what Tom's got to say, and I'm hoping we get a real version of Tom Brady.
All right, so you wrote an article in 3 matchups Browns must exploit against the Cowboys. So this is from the Orange and Brown Report. Jerry Jeudy versus Jordan Lewis, Kalen Carson. Carson, a rookie, of course. Deron Bland out with that foot injury. Grant Delpit against Jake Ferguson. That's a tight end who is a problem for defenses. And Myles Garrett against Tyler Guyton, rookie tackle. So, yeah, I'm with you. That whomever Tyler Guyton is trying to block, hopefully they get after it and have a big day.
Yeah, I mean, that's the pitfalls. You're drafted in the first round. Welcome to the NFL. Here's the defending defensive player of the year. And if you think back to 22, when the Browns opened with the Panthers, similar situation with Owusu-Koramoah, and Garrett wrecked the game in the third quarter. 6 pressures, 2 sacks, forced fumble. That's what you're looking for. Those kind of change the game instances when you get a rookie tackle facing one of the very best to do it. And similar to what we talked about earlier, the game plan for the Cowboys is going to be Jake Ferguson, Luke Schoonover, Zeke Elliott. Get over there. You're going to have to double team, chip block, try to slow him down by any means possible. But on those rare instances where he's actually on an island with Guyton and Garrett must exploit that, take advantage and do his very best to wreck the game.
Yeah, and again, Jeudy against Carson is another one, or God forbid if they try to put Carson on Amari Cooper, that could get ugly.
Yeah, I mean, Diggs is coming back from injury, but if I had to guess, he's going to see the majority of those reps against Coop. But that, like, you put someone like Jerry Jeudy in the slot with Jordan Lewis. Jordan Lewis gives up completion 68% of the time when he's targeted. You got to take advantage of that. And then when you actually put Jeudy on the outside across from a 5th-round rookie from Wake Forest, Kalen Carson, you have to exploit those matchups. Take advantage. Just 2 weeks ago, that guy was going to be Deron Bland. And I don't know, you're not getting any free lunches on Deron Bland. You can get someone, a rookie, especially someone like Jeudy, who can separate and really do damage when he's got the ball in his hands. So for me, that is a matchup they must exploit. But the one that's not getting talked about is Grant Delpit on Jake Ferguson. CeeDee Lamb is such a talent, and the Browns are more equipped than any other corner room in the league to at least slow him down. But CeeDee is a talent. He's going to make some plays. The league is schemed to let offenses, the rules kind of dictate that he's going to get loose a couple of times. You got to try to limit that. But if you just look at what Grant Delpit did to Mark Andrews in the second meeting against Baltimore, you have to do that against the Cowboys, because the Cowboys literally really only target 2 players heavily, and those are both of them. So if you take away Dak's security blanket, he's going to be forced to put the ball at risk. So for me, it's about bringing Delpit down in the box, blanketing Ferguson, and limiting him at every opportunity. If you do that, you can make this Cowboys offense one-dimensional, and that's when this defense can really capitalize on any mistakes.
All right, so again, Deshaun Watson historically has had a high sack total, or there's a narrative that he does. He was asked about that, and who gets the blame for those sacks as well?
It comes with the game. It comes with part of the game. Extending plays. I'm that type of quarterback that extend plays, just like a lot of other quarterbacks around the league. And I think that my, ability to be able to extend plays can be big shots. So it's the risk you take within the offense, and sometimes you just got to pick your spots, and defense get us, and sometimes we get the defense.
Sack responsibility goes on a quarterback versus an offensive line. Like, what's the blame pie there?
What's the blame? I mean, as a quarterback, you always take the blame. So, you put the blame for me as 100% quarterback. I don't never put the blame on the O-line or any of those guys. So I got to get rid of the ball. I got to throw the ball away. I got to make something happen, make the first guy miss, make a throw or something like that. But, yeah, I mean, we don't really lock in too much on that. We just, like I said, try to execute a plan and get the ball out into our skilled guys and let them go make plays.
It's an interesting answer because there is a narrative with the national one. He takes a lot of sacks, and it's absolutely right. It's a risk reward thing, and there are certain times where just get rid of the ball, live to play the down and distance.
I'll start with this. That answer is going to go over very well in the offensive line room by taking the onus and saying he never puts it on the O-line. But yeah, you said it's the risk reward. He's a big play hunter. And a lot of that time is you're going to hold on the ball and wait for something to kind of develop late. And with that comes the risk of taking sacks. And he also said that during his first 2 seasons, it was the feast or famine. He took a ton of sacks trying to hit those big plays. But as he gets older and he starts to rack up these injuries, it becomes about mitigation. It's, you got to be part of your own rescue and get rid of the ball and live to fight another down. So there has to be an emphasis this entire camp about that very thing is here's your reads. If it doesn't develop, just get rid of it. And you got to live to fight another down. So for him, especially with the injuries he sustained last year, just self-preservation, man. It doesn't always have to be a home run. Sometimes you can just foul one off and get back to the plate for the next one. So I think that has to be the mindset, especially early in the season until he gets his legs under him.
Casey Kinnamon and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. So we'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason when we return. We want you to call a voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650. What are you concerned about? What do you think about the Browns season? What do you think about the Cowboys and Browns game? We'll use those Friday on the show. Sports4CLE, I'll be right back. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is dedicated to recognizing exceptional students, teachers, and schools throughout Ohio. Scan the QR code on screen to nominate students and teachers as Academic All-Stars and Teachers of the Month. They must be currently enrolled or teach in grades K through 12. Is your K through 12 school developing students' literacy skills to achieve success in reading? If so, you can nominate your school for the School of the Year. Students can win $100, teachers can win $500, and schools can win $2,500. Scan the QR code, fill out the forms, and nominate deserving students, teachers, and schools today. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program takes pride in honoring exceptional students, teachers, and schools across Ohio. Submit your nomination today. It's fun, fast, and free. We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from the Orange and Brown Report, the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast, and the Barking Browns podcast. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
I just don't understand why we get all this complaining about draft picks, bust, play calling, and this and that. Listen, no team in the history of football, or for that matter sports, gets it right every time. It happens. It's part of the game. So, Brown fans, relax. We're not going to get it right every single time. But you see the adversity we went through last year, and we still made it to the playoffs. Come on, guys. We got to change our mindset. That loser mentality, we're done with that. That is behind us. The new season is going to start. Let's try to turn the leaf and start off with a positive energy. Thank you. Go Dogtown. Woo.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Case, I don't know about you, that sounded like it was a cell phone. I hope he was paying attention to traffic there. Yeah, I agree. And you look at this roster, and you can nitpick any GM on draft picks. This roster's among the best in the NFL. And, if Deshaun Watson rebounds like you and I think he will, if he can stay healthy, it's going to be talked about as probably one of the 2 best rosters in the NFL.
I hope every Browns fan hears that call. It's exactly what it is. You can nitpick anyone's draft picks, and you hit here, you didn't hit here. But here's what I will say about Andrew Berry. The places he's been deficient on actually hitting his draft picks, he has supplemented by trading for people. It isn't like he's just turning a blind eye to a positional group. They haven't developed the process to be good at drafting wide receivers yet, or to be good at drafting defensive tackles. So what have they done? They've attacked it through trades or free agency. So it's an all efforts approach. But like you said it, man, this is a top flight roster. Now, what the Browns have to do is put these seasons back to back, because we've had high watermarks followed by disappointment. And if that happens this year, it'll be like, oh, there's the Browns. They were good last year, and look at them tanking this year. So it takes consistency. You put that consistency together, you'll be recognized nationally as a team who has it together. But until they do that, we're going to face these questions, and we're going to face the doubters, and AB's detractors are going to come out of the woodwork. So as long as they stack back-to-back double-digit winning seasons, that noise will slowly start to go away.
Yeah, the other thing is that they got to win the division. You win the division, you get a home play. The NFL doesn't come right out and say it, but in essence, you got to win your division to get a home playoff game. And we've already talked about in this show how good they've been under Kevin Stefanski at home. So the key to getting deep in the playoffs, win the division. And I'm with you. The next step, you've gone from what you were at 1-31 over the course of a couple of years to now make the playoffs. You finish right around 500. You make the playoffs. Now you need the next step for Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, perennial playoff team, win the damn division.
Yeah, you said it. Man, that would mean so much. Just winning that division, getting that monkey off your back. Because every time I see the stat, it's the Oilers have won the division since we have. Like, that's a team who hasn't been playing, for going on 20 years. Like, that's the next step in this team's evolution. Now, unfortunately for us, we play in the best division in football. Not a bad team in our division. But that's still got to climb. Doesn't matter who else is in your division. You got to take care of what you can take care of. And if you stack together 11, 12 wins, you put yourself in position to win this division. And I think that's what it's going to take. So blinders on, one game at a time. If this team does what I think it can do, I think you're going to be looking at the end of the season and feel pretty good where you're at if you finish 12-5 and finally have that division crown to show for it.
So this one is from CBS Sports, 2024 NFL Power Rankings. They have the Chiefs 1, the Packers 2, 49ers 3, Bills 4, Bengals 5, Ravens 6. You got the Jaguars at 12, the Buccaneers at 13, the Dolphins at 14, the Rams at 15, and the Browns at 16, right in the middle. So right in the middle of the NFL. Their entire season will be decided by how well Watson plays and how much. If he's healthy, they have a talented roster around him. That's the issue. Deshaun Watson was asked today about the national perspective of the Browns.
It's fine with us. It's perfect. We just gonna go under the radar and work. That's all we can do. We don't get into all the power rankings and people's opinions. So it's the NFL. Things change, teams change, rankings change. So it's week 1. The key is to be the best team in week 17. Each week you got to get better, and I think that the teams that do that, you see them, rise to the top and end up in that final game, and that's what we got to take that approach.
Again, Case, love the answer. I'm not sure what I expected him to say, but.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to be under the radar, especially if you're in a nationally televised game week 1 against the Cowboys with Tom Brady calling it. But I get the sentiment, and I think he's got the right approach. I really just hope it's not word service and he's actually living by this. But that's the mentality, man. Just work. No one cares. Work harder. You have enough talent that if you just put the work first and you stay healthy, I think everything's going to stack up right in the end.
So we look ahead to the Cowboys game. We've talked some of the key matchups. What do you think the keys to this are, and who do you think wins?
Well, boring answer. It's week 1. I think the defenses are going to be ahead of the offense. I think it's going to be kind of an ugly game, sprinkled with some big plays. For me, it's turnover battle. You win the turnover battle, I think you're going to come out on top. You're at home. We know this defense can do at home. I expect it to be kind of a slog, at least in the first half. But I see something like a 20-17 game, and I got Cleveland winning this.
Yeah, I'm with you. The turnover battle is especially important. And the other thing I'll say, special teams will play a role in it too. The new kickoff rule is going to be interesting. This is really going to be our first look at it. They show nothing with what they're going to do kickoff-wise in preseason. But you can't give Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and those guys short fields and extra opportunities by turning the ball over.
Yeah, no shooting yourself in the foot. Don't beat yourself. You know what I mean? Just literally, just punting isn't bad, especially early in the season. You got a good defense. Just try to stay smart. Try not to take any high risk throws and keep them out of your red zone unless they earn it. And if they earn it, your props to them. But I don't think they're going to be able to in this defense. So it's going to come down to a lot of field position and just playing smart football. And if you win the turnover battle, you'll win this game.
Casey Kinnamon, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Casey.
Hey, anytime. Thanks for having me.
Casey Kinnamon, make sure you check him out, the Orange and Brown Report. He is also the co-host of the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast and the Barking Browns podcast. Always really good Brown stuff. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
Cash, moolah, greenbacks, dough, Skrilla, chips, bread, and mo. 2, 5, 10, and 20. 30 big ones, games aplenty. Cheddar, butter, loot, and scratch. Find the letters, make a match, cause there's many words for cash, no doubt, and many ways to play a cash word. Check 'em out. Cash word from Ohio, lottery. It's game time, yo. Cash word, it's fun to go with millions and prizes, don't you know?
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Jedric Wills took part in individual drills today for the first time since his injury. First step towards getting him back. Will not start Sunday's game against the Cowboys. He also talked about how the plan for his recovery from his knee injury changed.
It's unfortunate when you have an injury like that where you can't control what happens. But as O-line, you kind of have to push the injury. It's not like any other position group where you can sub somebody in for a couple plays and then, you know what I mean, or for a game. So chemistry is everything, and sometimes you got to play through injuries, and that's just how it happens. Yeah.
Could you take me through that again? Did you say originally you were not going to need surgery?
Yeah, originally I was not going to need surgery. It was going to be rehab. I don't remember the exact timeline, but at first I wasn't going to have surgery, and then later on they found out that they needed a scope.
So was it an MCL, or was it more than an MCL?
It was more than an MCL, yeah.
Oh, yeah? But it was scope?
Yeah, it was a scope that I ended up getting in December, yeah.
You said you don't expect to start on Sunday. Do you expect to play at all, or is that kind of up in the air?
Yeah, it's kind of up in the air. Really, it's just trying to get through today, see what I can do, and move forward from there.
With that, let's welcome in Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. So, Jeff, the injury more serious than we initially knew, obviously. That would explain the rehab time that's kind of and I know you've addressed this. What happens if Jack Conklin goes out and plays really well at left tackle?
Look, the bottom line of this is you're trying to put out the 5 best guys that you have. And, I know a lot of people have been talking about, what this could mean and how difficult this could be for Jack Conklin. Jack Conklin started 35 career games at Michigan State. Granted, that was probably 8-9 years ago. So it's been a while in the past. But it is not like he is completely unfamiliar with the position. Jack has a resume when healthy that speaks for himself. He's a 2-time All-Pro in this league. Jed, as much as, I have tried to, cool down on, some of the negative I've talked of Jedric Wills over the years, because I think Jed is a lot tougher guy and a lot more committed than people give him credit for. Sometimes their play becomes the defining. But when somebody's been with an organization for 5 years, there's certainly positives to it. But Jack is certainly capable, if this is truly a 1-versus-1 competition, of taking this job. He truly is. It's just a fact. I don't think the Browns want to distort the growth path of DeJuan Jones, because he'll be a starter next year regardless. He could be their top offensive tackle come 2026. So I don't think they have any intention of slowing down the DeJuan Jones train. And it does maybe make for a little bit of an awkward position if Jed ends up being, a $14 million and change swing guy. But between he and Conklin, these guys have both been banged up. Jed's been able to stay out there more regularly than, Jack Conklin has. So it does create an scenario there. But, if Jack Conklin's the better left tackle, and we know DeJuan's going to suffer a little bit in the run game, it's just going to be something that's always going to happen. He's just that big of a guy. He just doesn't have the initial quickness and burst, that some offensive linemen have. You're just not going to have it at that size. But you put Jack on the left side with Joe Bitonio, you pull Wyatt Teller, all of a sudden running the ball. I mean, and even if it's a tell and you're telling everybody most likely we're running the ball to the left side, that's a really good tell to have if you're going to run the ball.
Yeah, and again, you can't afford not to have the best offensive line out there. The stakes are too high for the season for the Browns, without question. Tony Grossi, longtime Browns beat reporter, was asked about the weapons Deshaun Watson has in his passing game this year.
Go in order of Watson's weapons. Cooper would be 1.
Cooper 1.
And Njoku 2.
/ Judy.
You do? Do you think they're gonna call plays for Jerry Judy?
Yes. Yep. And then Moore after that, and any of the running backs after that.
Elijah Moore, the unicorn.
Jeff, I think some people are they don't understand how good Jerry Judy was drafted ahead of CeeDee Lamb and I think it was Justin Jefferson too. So
most certainly,
this is a guy that has some talent. He just again, maybe he was overdrafted. Maybe he's played with really inadequate quarterback play. We're going to find out.
When you talk about Jerry Judy, to this point in the NFL, his career highs are 62 for 972 and 6 touchdowns. I think it's probably a pretty strong belief that he's going to break every one of those career highs this season. What I think the Browns like, and it's not that Amari still can't go deep, but this is also part of the whole thing where the Browns and their unwillingness to go with money past this season with Amari Cooper at 30 years old. If he goes out there and he's still able to do it, the Browns will be more than ecstatic about that. But you kind of want to see, and we've talked about this a lot of times over the last couple of years, Dave, is you want to kind of be 1 year ahead of something as opposed to 1 year behind it. So if it turns out that Amari Cooper maybe does lose a little off his fastball, so he's not a 1,250-yard guy. Oh, maybe he's only a 1,000-yard guy. Still certainly certainly pretty adequate. But, you don't want to say, well, we lost a huge element of our offense in 2024 because Amari Cooper's deep ability tapered off. Also, the other thing is Amari is such a sound route runner. You don't need him to do everything vertical. He is very good underneath. As we all saw last year, he's very good after the catch. You have a game this week against the Cowboys. Trevon Diggs returning, from ACL injury. There is a guy who's always struggled with double moves throughout his entire career anyway. He's had a guy who's made a lot of interceptions over the years, but he's struggled with double moves. That's usually when he loses. He's their top corner coming off an ACL injury. Bland is not going to be there. Their other starter is a 5th-round rookie. Jerry Judy, it's going to be like, hey, we got our new toy. Let's see what we got here. And, you think and you feel most likely the coverage is going to be dictated to Koo. The coverage is going to be dictated to Njoku. So I think this is a prime spot for Jerry Judy to make a big-time debut in his Cleveland Browns debut.
So I know you've addressed this on the Locked On Browns podcast as well. The need for run production. Obviously, they need it. Where do they look for it? What do you think they get? Take us through kind of the thought process behind that.
I think this is one of the big things with, and putting Jack Conklin in at left tackle. I think, they want to be able to get to second and sixes. They'd like to be in third and manageable, probably 4 or less. They want to be in those situations. And look, I don't think they're going to run the ball 30 times. It's not going to be like we've seen in the years past. I don't think they have any confidence in these guys to give them the ball 30 times like they did when they had Nick Chubb and then said, oh, well, we can give Kareem 10 carries. And then all of a sudden you had 30 carries. But they're going to, have to do a couple of things. You're going to have to keep the game a little bit shorter. You're going to have to keep Dallas's offense off the field. It's week 1. Not many of these guys have played, if any, since last year in January, for certainly the case of the Cowboys and certainly for the case of the Browns. So nobody's played. So, you can't have your defense keep trotting back on the field. You don't want your defense seeing 60 plays, 50 pass plays, which could happen if you get to a shootout or you could get to a game, that's close. And, both teams probably have more confidence in their passing game right now than they do in their run game. But you've got to do that. Also, you got to give a little rest. That is when the offensive linemen rest. They rest in run blocking, doing so much pass pro. Again, if it was 45, 50 times, it's the more margin of error of the quarterback getting hit. It's more margin of the error of the quarterback dropping the ball, more margin of the error of the quarterback possibly throwing interceptions. So I'm not saying you got to go out there and they got to put up, 150 yards, but you really, really need collectively between Ford, Foreman, Pierre Strong to get around that 4 yards per carry. You've got to keep them honest.
Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Now I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll hear from Kevin Stefanski talking about the Cowboys defense. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Cash, moolah, greenbacks, dough, Skrilla, chips, bread, and mo. 2, 5, 10, and 20. 30 big ones, games aplenty. Cheddar, butter, lewd, and scratch. Find the letters, make a match, cause there's many words for cash, no doubt, and many ways to play a cash word. Check 'em out. Cash word from Ohio, lottery. It's game time, yo. Cash word, it's fun to go with millions and prizes, don't you know?
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Kevin Stefanski on the challenges that the Cowboys defense presents, especially with Micah Parsons and a guy he knows really well, new defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer.
It's a good front across the board, like you mentioned. He can line up anywhere. He can line up on the edge, interior, linebacker. Really, there's no shortage of things that they can do with him. And then there's talented players across from him. Number 90 is as good as there is. I mean, heavy hands, disruptive guys in the middle. So it's a really tough group, but again, he can line up all over.
Expecting his role to change given the new system?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I don't think anybody, or we don't know. Obviously, I know they know. But I think every team in week 1, you go into it trying to have a feel for where they may line guys up. What type of scheme are they going to run? Obviously, Coach Zimmer's an outstanding defensive mind. To say we know exactly what they're going to do, I don't think is fair. You obviously study what they've done in the past, both in Dallas and what Coach did in Minnesota, but schemes change, schemes evolve, so exactly how it looks, we are just like a lot of teams in week 1, you're going to figure it out on Sunday.
And, Jeff, it sounds like Browns are facing a defensive line that's similar to what they have, Garrett and Parsons are pretty similar.
Well, you look, and Micah Parsons threw 3 years in the NFL, 40 and a half sacks. Miles right now is about 11 and a half, a change away in season 8 from, 100 total sacks. These are the type of players we're talking about, legit players. I think with Micah, it's a little different. He does, like, Coach said, he lines up everywhere. He will do some, traditional, linebacker blitz. I mean, everybody knows he's coming, but it just allows him, to go to different avenues, different gaps, guard center gap, of course, around the edge. He's just really, really quick. He's got a great first step. And unlike Miles, who's a little bit more of a technician and has got the moves, Parsons with his speed and, athletic ability can just get around you so quickly and just get through you so quickly. It's going to be, if you're somebody that's into this aspect of, football and line play and pass rushers, it's a really, really good matchup. And I mean, and the thing is, for either one of these offense coordinators, that number 95 or number 11 for the Dallas Cowboys have the ability to absolutely ruin your day. They can absolutely destroy your day. So that is like your be all end all on every sheet you have is 11 counted for? Is 95 accounted for? Because if it's not, it becomes a really long day, and it could become a really long day really quickly. But, for Dallas, and they kind of took a chance, people kind of knew Parsons had this type of, background that he could be this type of pass rusher, but at Penn State, he kind of just did a little bit of everything. You didn't get to see the overall pass rush game. Dallas tried it early because they had some injuries when he was a rookie. He took it to it like a fish to water, and they just never had any intention of really having him do anything else. He does do some other things, but when you're got 40.5 sacks for your first 3 years, yeah, your main goal is to get after the quarterback.
I know you've addressed this, and I'm curious about it. Locked On Browns podcast. Why a healthy Juan Thornhill could kind of be that final piece to this defense?
This started off as actually me and just a couple other content guys going, where's the problem? Where is the weak spot with the Cleveland Browns right now? And you didn't really get everything out of Juan Thornhill last year. And most of it was obviously missed some time with the calf injury. When he came back from the calf injury, certainly wasn't 100%. Juan Thornhill, as good as he is, as a stand on the roof safety, just go back there, play center field. He's effective in run defense. He is really good at running the alley and getting the running back out of bounds, making a tackle, biting out of sidelines. That was something you kind of lost late in the year when he was back because he didn't have that burst in the calf. It just didn't have it for him. But this was more about just finding one element that you could say could allow this defense to be even better. There are other elements. Alex Wright's growth potential, certainly Isaiah McGuire's growth potential. Bringing in Jordan Hicks, which we've talked about a million times, is something that can make this defense even better. Having Delpit for an entire season, having McLeod for an entire season, along with Thornhill. But for you, if you can get 100% of Juan Thornhill and him being comfortable year 2 now in this system, and again, Juan Thornhill is a big guy to this team because where the Browns want to go in long playoff runs and going to Super Bowls and ultimately winning them, Juan Thornhill can tell that tale. He's been there. He's done it. So he's a key person to this defense. And if he can play at 100% level, this Browns defense just gets even better than it was last year.
Yeah, I'm with you. Some of the big turnovers you want, you may get with a healthy calf muscle and him with the ability to drive on the ball that I think he was reluctant to do it because he knew he couldn't do it. He couldn't really let loose. All right, before I let you go, keys to this game and who do you think wins and what are you paying attention to that could be a difference in the Browns-Cowboys matchup?
Well, I mean, there's a couple things you're looking at here. We know the issue with the Cleveland Browns offensive line. This unit that's going to take the field on Sunday has not taken one snap together collectively the way they are going to be aligned on Sunday. We have not seen anything of Jack Conklin at left tackle in his time here with the Cleveland Browns. It's certainly a talking point. I think part of it's going to be done because I think it's going to be a little easier on the injured knee for him to play the left side than to play the right side. Dallas is starting a rookie left tackle. Dallas is starting a rookie center. Regardless of how high they were drafted and what the potential is for both players to succeed, until we see it, we know nothing. And look, not everybody just walks out there week 1 in the NFL, lines up against Myles Garrett, and all of a sudden we're just saying, oh, wow, that kid was great. He's going to be fantastic. He's going to be fine. I think the fact that you're talking about their top corner is coming back off an ACL injury. Their second corner is going to be a rookie 5th-round pick. There's a lot of things here. Because I think everybody just wants to say Deshaun in the offense versus, Dak and CeeDee Lamb, who wins. But it's most likely going to be, whose offensive line played and protected their quarterback better. Or it could be a question of, did Dallas's secondary rise above some of the issues they have via injury, via not having Bland and having to start a rookie 5th-round pick. It's going to be one of those smaller talking points that nobody wants to lead with. That's most likely going to be what will define this game on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm with you. And because of what you have delineated relative to some of the guys that will be missing for the Cowboys, I think as long as the Browns don't turn the ball over a bunch, I think they come out with a win. I think that's Special teams, I'm curious to see. You can't allow a kickoff return for a can't allow a cheap touchdown and turn the ball over.
Play smart, play safe. They should win this game. We've said that a lot over the years. So, a lot more. It's turned out that they do win these games. But they've always found some times to basically make us eat our words. They're a better football team. They have a better overall defense. As great as CeeDee Lamb is, I would take the top six Browns wide receivers over CeeDee Lamb and the other wide receivers the Dallas Cowboys have. They have the better tight end. And if number 4 plays the way I think he's going to play, I think the Browns win, and they should probably win. I'm not saying a blowout, but I think they can win this game. And, the other factor is Dallas doesn't play as well outside on grass as they do down in, that tremendously large, whatever the world they think they call it in Dallas.
Jeff Lloyd, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jeff.
Anytime, Dave. Week 1, best week of the year.
Sounds good. Browns-Cowboys Sunday. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. Check out Jeff Lloyd on the Locked On Browns podcast. Always really good stuff. No show for us tomorrow. We will be back here Friday at 4 o'clock. Want your voicemails. Let us know what you think about the season, your concerns, what you think about the Cowboys games as well. 216-200-6650. Have a great day. We will see you Friday at 4 on Sports for CLE.